How's it going, fellow Rut runners? Paddy Leary here from the North Face Athlete team. I'm originally from Ireland, but for the past 7 years I've been based here in San Francisco, California. Can anyone guess the famous site over my shoulder there? Anyway, I was excited to share some miles with you in Big Sky for the 2020 Rut, but I'm grateful that through these chaotic times we can still all be part of this great community through the Rut's 2020 Virtual Run. Over the past few weeks, you've been hearing from several of my teammates with tips on how to train and prepare for a longer trail run, whether that be a race or an adventure in the mountains. Well, now it's race week for the Rut Virtual Run, and I'm going to give you some tips on what are the last second preparations needed to be ready both mentally and physically for the challenge ahead. I've done everything from short, fast and burly mountain races like vertical kilometers or shorter sky races to longer solo navigation efforts like the Wicklow Round, or massive efforts like Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc. Conceptually, the last minute preparations for all of these events can be very similar, whether it be an in-person event or a virtual run. Know the course, know your plan, rest up and get excited for the adventures ahead. So know the course. I find it useful to study the route in advance and to know it. Where are the major climbs? How far between the aid stations? I'll write down or draw the elevation profile on a card or on your arm with a Sharpie, or one can even buy temporary tattoo paper online and use it with your printer, print it out if you want to be extra fancy. I'll label the distances between the aid stations or between the crew points, which might be the case for your virtual run, and then this is useful for recalling these important locations throughout a race or an adventure or an event. Visualize what might be the most challenging parts of the course. Have a plan for that stage, making sure to take some nutrition on board right before that part, or controlling your pace up that crazy climb. But a thing I often find very useful is to not only familiar yourselves with the most challenging parts of a route, but also with the most beautiful parts. Go on to Google in advance, look up pictures of the route or the summit, and a allure of a spectacular vista point or hill can often be a great way to get you up a climb, right? I'd mentioned aid stations, so knowing your plan. If you're in an official race, you should familiarise yourself with the foods and supplies available at an aid station. Or if it's your own adventure or virtual race, are you planning to meet your crew along the way? Where are you going to meet them? Have you left drop bags somewhere? And have you got the right food in it? And water. What are the water sources along the way? I think Caitlin might have talked to you about planning your own adventure. Make sure you have your water filter and know your water sources. Having a plan and communicating that with your crew and team well in advance to the race morning is key, as you don't want to be frantically figuring out. Sorry lads, motorbike up in the street. They don't appreciate film, eh? Anyway, where was I? Yeah, having a plan and communicating with your crew and team well in advance of race morning is key, as you don't want to be frantically figuring this stuff out like in the last minute when you hopefully will be relaxing and getting ready to get excited for your event. The night before a race, it's often tricky to get a decent night's sleep with all that excitement that's building up. I find in the week leading up to a race, I'll try to get a couple of good decent nights sleep, like 2, 3, 4 nights out, because you're going to be excited the night before and a little nervous, which is good. So we've talked about what to do leading up to a run, but one thing not to forget is to prepare for after your run as well. And depending where you're finishing your virtual run or a race, hopefully in the not too distant future, plan to have a spare change of warm clothes, some food and liquid recovery in your bag, whatever your usual go-to, nutrition you take on board post a hard effort, and hey, maybe even a beverage to kind of cheers an adventure well done. So things, picture that epic view, the finish line, the whole experience of your route adventure. Whether you're in a virtual run or an in-person race, you're out there to enjoy the time spent with great people on beautiful trails with a great trail running community. I'll be out there running virtually with you this year, and hopefully I'll see you on the line in Big Sky in 2021. Cheers.